Shabbat shalom, everyone. Perhaps the most well-known teaching of all of the teachings of Judaism is one attributed to the sage Hillel, one that we brought to mind this past year at the High Holy Days. In the 2nd century, Hillel taught us this: if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? And the truth is that Hillel may as well have been speaking about this week's Torah portion, the book of Noah. We are all somewhat familiar with the tale of Noah and his family, and thank you for reminding us of it, Rabbi. Noah built an ark to save himself and his family. And I think there were representatives of a few other animal species from a great flood that covered the known earth. Lesser known is the other story which occurs in Parshat Noah, that of the Tower of Babel. Human beings decide to try to reach the heavens, and God foils that plan by dividing humanity into different ethnic groups, so to speak, dividing them up by language, and then speaking multiple languages, unable to understand one another. The tower that is under construction cannot be completed. There is a profound arrogance, a human arrogance, at work behind both of these stories. Noah hears the word of God telling him to build an ark, and according to the text, it never occurs to him, as it does to every single other prophet who portends doom, to make the slightest attempt to save humanity. Not for Noah. He simply decides that it's worth it for him to save himself. Just imagine what scenes of destruction must he have witnessed, or at least heard, through the walls of the heavy ark as the waters began to rise. The arrogance of the generation of Babel is well documented in our text. God no longer considers the option of destroying all humanity, having just promised not to do that again after the flood, but God scatters the people across the earth, separates them, as if to say, what you are doing is not the way that I wish humanity to live. There is a better way. It's not clear that the builders of this Tower of Babel were sinning exactly by attempting to reach the heavens, just that God has a different plan for how humanity's story should unfold. There is a famous midrash, actually, which attempts to understand what exactly was so bad about the Tower of Babel. It argues that while the tower was being constructed, those at the bottom of these giant ladders grew tired and bored. Everything, of course, that was happening above them would have depended on them staying at their posts. But all that they would have seen and heard at the bottom is a sort of never-ending slave labor of moving materials ever upward on the structure, and eventually their energies would have been exhausted. The sin of those in the time of Noah are more clear. The text accuses them directly, as our rabbi reminded us, of wickedness and violence and corruption and perversion. Far from any sort of historical reality, these two stories of human arrogance have much to teach us. And primarily among those teachings, we see this emerging wisdom of Hillel. In a sense, the story of Noah and the flood is exactly the morality tale that we need of what happens when individuals only care for themselves and not others. If I am only for myself, what am I? Hillel asks. And the Tower of Babel is a morality tale in mirror reflection. What happens when society only looks out for the collective, while individuals become sacrificed for the greater good. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And Judaism has always found a way to uniquely balance these two different societal concerns. There are many civilizations that preach caring for the collective. Think historically of communist or socialist countries who care for the greater good above the individual. And there are, of course, civilizations which have espoused the primacy of the individual. We do this today in our country and truly in every secular country of the West. And the sages, the Jewish sages of old, understood that a healthy society needed to balance both obligations to the self and to the collective whole. Now, all of these texts far predate, of course, modern psychology, the self-help section in bookstores. But in those texts, we also today might study the same lessons in using entirely different lexicon. Care for the self, balanced with a care for other people. It's the theme of countless books aimed at restoring balance and meaning as we are living in the 21st century, with titles like Getting the Love That You Want, Difficult Conversations, Discover Your Strength, The One Thing, The Four Agreements, and yes, even 10% Happier. We live in a time of immense pressure from media and from peers to become fully accomplished, actualized, manifest, and a success in every aspect of our lives, in our careers and relationships, parenting, weight loss, and healthy exercise. All of those things while contributing meaningful as well to society through volunteering and charitable giving. We are all of us, and in every way, we are all in, and it is all the time. We have disregarded and devalued any boundaries that we have between the self and society, between our work lives and our play, between our family lives and our professional lives. Nowadays, we work from home and we enjoy casual days and social time at work. Recently, I found myself in a conversation about this return to in-person work that's happening now after some time away of COVID. Friends were relating that while it seems that an older, more experienced generation has anxiously awaited a return to the comfort of the office, a younger generation has more fully embraced the work-from-home option. And now both of these scenarios, of course, they offer their own reward as well as setbacks. The greatest cost that was identified in this particular conversation was that these two groups, these two different generations, were losing out on the opportunity to learn from one another. For there are real benefits to working from home when we are motivated and when we are properly supervised. And a healthy office culture can produce creative and unexpectedly positive results. But we also need each other. We need to learn how and why our various modes of collaboration work for us. The only way we can do that is by sharing across the boundaries, by caring and advocating for ourselves and learning from those who do, and also sharing a collective concern for the greater good, learning from the team, learning from the organization, learning from the community. After the two great failures of the flood and its twin failure, the Tower of Babel, of course, we know the next story, Abraham. Abraham will be called upon to create a new form of social order that will give equal honor to the individual and the collective, to personal responsibility and the common good. So then we may ask with the sage Hillel, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what am I? And that beautiful, evolving, transformational system of questioning has been our birthright for centuries. We care for others, and we care for ourselves, and that continues to be one of the great gifts of the Jewish people to the world as we continue to wrestle with how to best implement these ideas in the world. For we say, if not now, then when? Shabbat Shalom.